panel titled Fortune Favours the Brave. We're going to be talking to our panelists here who have all seen significant growth during the pandemic, and hopefully we'll get some golden nuggets from them. I'd like to introduce my panelists. Today we have Sonia Deasy, who is CEO and co-founder of Pestle and Mortar. We have Barry Lunn, who is the CEO and co-founder of Provizio. And we've got Devan Hughes, who is CEO and co-founder of Buymie. Thanks very much for joining us. Can we just go around the room here and you just explain a little bit about your companies? We'll start with you, please, Sonia.
Hi, my name is Sonia Deasy. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Pestle and Mortar. Our mission with Pestle and Mortar was to demystify skincare and create a simple but effective skincare solution. Skincare can be quite complicated, and all of our products are created using ingredients from nature combined with science so that they work. Okay,
thank you. Barry, do you want to take it away?
Sure, yeah. So at Provizio or Proviso, if you wish.
Sorry, my bad.
So we're building an active safety platform with the goal of eradicating road deaths and accidents and all that fun stuff. So to do that, we've built a system that can perceive, predict, and prevent automotive crashes in real time. We're using proprietary long-range imaging sensors and combining that with artificial intelligence right there on the edge on sensor. So yeah, that's it. We just have that small mission of eradicating 1.35 million road deaths a year, 50 million additional injuries, and 2.4 trillion of worldwide costs. So yeah, and we're 18 months in, so you know, it's all easy at this stage.
Okay, thank you. And do you want to tell us how you're taking over the world?
How do you follow that? We're not saving lives over here. So Buymie is Buymie is the largest same-day grocery e-commerce platform in Ireland. So we handle all of the same-day e-commerce for large enterprise grocery retailers like Dunnes Stores, Lidl, and Tesco's, as well as Asda and Co-op and Tesco in the UK. What we do is we allow users to order grocery and household items from large enterprise grocers and have their items delivered store to door in as little as an hour by their very own personal shopper.
Okay, thanks very much, Devan. I think you managed to follow that up fine. Sonia, we're going to come to you first. So obviously, with non-essential retail closed, that was going to have a dramatic impact on your company. Can you just let us know what was the kind of first thoughts that you had when you realized that your retail sales were going to really go down?
I suppose, Fiona, the first thought I had was to launch a new online store. We already had an online store, but the day that the government announced that non-essential retail was closing, we set about a 6-month project of redesigning and redeveloping our own e-com site.
Okay, and how is it like, well, I know from my own experience of this year, especially when you're on Zoom calls all the time, you start noticing that you maybe need to up your skincare regime. But how do you get people to be confident to buy things from the internet, where we're used to going into shops, trying things on? Does it smell okay? Does it test fine on our skin? How did you manage to do that?
I think we are established 6 years and we do have a loyal customer base here in Ireland and abroad. So a lot of our customers, once the stores closed, they did come straight away onto our e-com store to purchase. So our e-com sales grew over 400% last year. So we are a trusted brand already. We're 6 years old, so our products are, we gained a word of mouth following through using social media, Instagram, Facebook, using our customers' reviews and recommendations.
Yeah, you had a couple of product launches this year, didn't you? How did that go?
We did. We launched our vitamin C 2-phase serum, and it was one of our best ever launches. Even though it is in the higher price category of the products that we sell. So I think that people are really looking after their skin. They're noticing more than ever from working at home, where they're not, especially women, aren't wearing makeup. So they're getting to see what their skin looks like naturally. Our philosophy is less is more. We believe in wearing less makeup and really giving your skin, letting your natural skin shine through. So with being at home, I think that people have been able to allow the products to work without putting makeup on after them. So they're getting the true benefit of all of the active ingredients. So it takes between 2 to 3 months for a product to actually work on your skin and for you to notice the benefits. And I think that with women not going, you know, when you're not going out to work, there's no need to cover up your skin.
Yes. It's very handy for things like today, isn't it? We can just adjust camera settings or use the lighting from the window. It's great. Barry, we're going to come to you next. Now, you had a very significant raise this year. I want to talk to you about raising money during the pandemic. And we had a little chat yesterday, and you spoke about the procedure that you went through to get money from the European Innovation Council. Can you just talk us through that and kind of what you learned from the whole experience?
Yeah, cheers, Fiona. Yeah, it was interesting. I suppose COVID kind of took me by surprise. I was bootstrapping Provizio at the time, and I wasn't in any particular hurry to take money off of anyone. And then COVID hit, and none of us knew how it was going to turn out. So it was a case of, right, I need to raise some money now, because when everyone else panics, I want to be ahead of them. So really, in terms of the strategy and the work from home thing, and how was it going to raise money over Zoom, I suppose I had a couple of advantages, and I think it'd be unfair not to kind of state that as well, as in I had just come off a fairly successful exit. So that helps, you know what I mean? Investors made money off you before, you know, it is a bit easier. But I wasn't particularly interested in getting institutional money in at the seed stage. I was more interested in getting some smart money in from maybe people who, you know, could add a bit of value as well. So I suppose the first thing we did actually was invested in decent mics and headsets and all that fun stuff, because especially if you're talking to people and you're asking them for money or asking them for an order over Zoom, you needed your connection to stay in place. That was the first thing we did. And after that, really, I just focused on people who knew my track record or whatever else. I think like a big thing is, like, don't go out to new people over Zoom and ask them for money unless there is an in. It's very, very difficult. So they either know your track record, or somebody they really respect in their network says, you need to talk to this guy. So that was kind of it. We built up a bit of momentum. I suppose it also helped. I put in a bit of money myself, so that obviously helps as well, because investors like to know you're going to feel pain when they feel it. And then it was literally just going through the Rolodex one by one and talking to people and starting off collecting smaller checks and then bigger ones. And really, everything in life is momentum. You know what I mean? And once that momentum is built up, it actually becomes the opposite. You're actually going, right, go away, no more. And that's the weird thing about fundraising. The first couple of 100K is difficult. It's after that, it becomes, you know, all the money goes to, that's why all the money goes to a very small amount of deals, because everyone wants to back the one that has already got momentum. So there's a bit of management to that as well, picking the ones that you think will be early winners, picking the higher risk takers a bit early, and then when you go to others. And so that was it. Like, we were lucky, we got some real industry people in as well. So that's really helped as well from an introductions point of view and things like that. And kind of at the end of every call, they've committed, I mean, the first thing you always have to do at the end of a call is ask them for money and wait for the answer. And the next bit is, right, who would you think would want to invest in this as well? And it just kind of built. And then, yeah, the EIC side of things, the European Innovation Council, I'd a bit of a track record there. My previous company, we'd gotten funding from EIC as well. And so we went into the ring. That was kind of funny because COVID hit and everyone panicked and everyone started applying for EIC funding. So they had their biggest intake of applications in the history of the program in the call we went for, which was great. But look, we got through it. We were delighted to get through that. I think it probably hit us at the right time in terms of where we were as a company. We were able to answer all the questions, and that, like, EIC funding is taxpayers' money and that, so there is an overhead to that, but it's a really nice non-dilutive source of funding.
Okay, and I suppose we should also go to Devan, who seems to be the raise king this year. Devan, how did you find, now you obviously went through different funding routes, but how did you find raising money this year? Or were they throwing it at you?
I was laughing because you referred to it as going through a procedure, and I would say it very much feels like you're having a procedure done, in many aspects of it. Like our funding journey as a business has been arduous. Like, being very honest. I mean, we're a consumer business, a consumer platform in Ireland. Ireland is not famous for spitting out great consumer businesses. We do great in med tech. We do good in hardware, and we do excellent in SaaS. And we have 3 or 4 VCs, and that's about it, that specialize in those areas. And then you have a load of angel investors that have pretty much exited businesses in those areas. So they're the areas of expertise that we have. So we don't have a very kind of diverse investor network or community for various different types of business models. We're quite niche. And so we had quite a challenge in the early days of one, starting a consumer business, and also starting in grocery, which, in 2016 was not a sexy sector. No one was talking about grocery delivery the way they are now. And so for the first 2 years, we really had to punch very clever, because I raised 100K pre-seed, and that was 25 grand, friends and family. I'm a firm believer, if you're going to go out and ask a stranger for money, you should be willing to have an awkward Christmas. And so that's, I always find it strange if you go and ask a stranger for their cash and you haven't asked, granny and granddad. I think it's important that you show that commitment. So every business I've ever started, I've always gone to friends and family first. We raised 50 grand competitive start fund from Enterprise Ireland, and then the only angel investor I knew, a guy called Ono Byrne, who had exited Relax around the same time, he backed me with 25K as well. So that was how we got started. I had to make that 100K really last. Ran out of money in June 2017, and the only reason we managed to continue going was because Unilever saw something in us and decided to buy 3% of the company for 100 grand just to keep us alive. And then 6 months after that, Amazon bought Whole Foods, and the whole world changed, and all of a sudden grocery started to get interesting for people. I was able to bring in Eamon Quinn and Scott Weaver's right. So Eamon Quinn from Dragon's Den, Super Quinn for anyone who doesn't know, and Scott was the ex-CEO for Morrisons.com. So what Barry was saying, bringing in smart money in the early days, angel investors, people who can not only help you understand the market that you're going into, but also rubber stamp it and validate it to non-industry investors, and be able to narrate the story or the value offering that you're bringing to that specific market. Then, I mean, really after that, that's when the market started opening to us, but venture only opened up to us in 2020. So we raised 8.2 million in 2 rounds. And actually it got so crazy at one stage, like we started fundraising in the summer of 2019. And this is the thing, and Barry mentioned it, you said it earlier on, Barry, momentum is what fundraising is about. So you build up this momentum and you have to kind of start that process. And by the end, you've got lots of interested parties. But we started the process in the summer of 2019, and then we had a round closing, 2.2 million round closing at the end of 2019. And then all of a sudden COVID happened, and we had to completely reimagine our entire funding strategy because we were already trading a year ahead in our business plan. So we ended up doing a second round, and I found myself with 2 funding rounds closing at the exact same time at 2 different valuations, with 12 different investors. So you can imagine that was in terms of trying to get everyone on the same page and going through the administrative process of closure. But yeah, we did it very successfully, and we were able to get some really exciting business. So it's been an incredible journey.
It certainly has. I'm a bit disappointed because I thought I was going to ask you if you had a crystal ball, but by the sounds of it, you didn't really foresee what's happened over the last year at all. I thought we might be able to get in on you with the patent or something, you know?
I think, you know what, we definitely saw what was happening in the market, I think, before a lot of people. And that's because, you know, we primarily are a FMCG data company. And consumer trend behavior emerges in grocery data before it emerges in any other data set. And so the day they launched, announced the closures of the public schools and offices, we did a week's worth of volume in a single day. I was coming back from London. I'd been pitching investors all day, hadn't looked at my phone, was on calls and all the rest, got to the airport, looked at my phone, saw that we did a week's worth of volume in a day. And I knew and because that was because of that announcement that we made. So you see this behavior change almost immediately, big baskets, panic purchasing. And we knew then, and that was I think that was the second week in March. We knew that 2020 was going to be unlike any other year we'd ever dealt with. And it was just because we'd never seen a trend like that emerge before.
Yeah, it certainly has been quite the year for you. Sonia, we're going to come back to you. And I suppose just for everyone here, fortune favors the brave, and you've had to be brave with your companies, but you also have to be brave with how you're dealing with your staff over the last year. Sonia, how did your team end up working throughout the year, and what measures did you put in place to make sure that they were in a safe work?
So we have, we're not open to the public here in our head offices in Naas, so we've got 10,000 square foot, and we do distribute our own product. So we ship our own product around Ireland and Europe. So logistics is open. And then we have half of our workforce working remotely and half from the office, but all of our systems are online, from our accounting to live inventory. So, to work remotely is not difficult for us. So our systems, from the very beginning, we were set up like that. So everything is cloud-based.
Okay, and Devan and Barry, you should come in as well. I'd imagine that you guys have had to do a lot of onboarding remotely. That's been very difficult for people to employ during the year. How challenging did you find it, or was it just something that you had to get on with?
Yeah, I mean, we were actually, for us, just at the beginning, like from the very beginning, we were in a couple of different countries anyway. Our founding team were between the UK, Ireland, and the US in Pittsburgh. So it wasn't any change in terms of our day-to-day work. Okay, when we had to go home, some things we have to do in the lab, but we were able to kind of manage that anyway. And as communicators, we were all used to doing things over Zoom. And actually, it's weird, we had all these programs as well because of that setup from the beginning, but also just wanting to have that connectivity between each other. We had all these fitness programs and stuff within the company where we were all on these shared plans that we did remotely together already. So that side of things worked well for us. But yeah, we have a bunch of people that we've recently hired that I've never met, which is obviously quite strange. You know what I mean? Because it's a big part of my job, obviously, is to recruit people. But we've managed to recruit really good people. And it's been pretty seamless. I'm waiting for it to all go wrong. You know what I mean? I've obviously missed something, but right now it's worked really well. Yeah. But I think the fact that we're very mission driven company, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what we're putting out there. Like it's all about reducing road deaths and stopping people getting maimed. And COVID's kind of played into our hands there, because people are actually looking for a bit more meaning in their work. You know what I mean? So people are leaving much bigger companies in our sector. They're leaving bigger salaries and safer futures because they want to do something cool and do something that might make a difference. And that's really been the feedback we've been getting through that onboarding. And they're able now to jump into a group that's been very comfortable with this type of communication, that's really comfortable with, like, So our average age is probably higher than most startups. So we all have kids and we all have that kind of thing. So someone not turning up for a meeting because their kid is crying or whatever is totally cool. No one cares. No one ever questions it. You know what I mean? And the other thing is we're all nerds. So, not actually having to be with other people is like Christmas for all of us. You know what I mean? It's like, and you mean no one's not even allowed to come within 2 meters of me? That is like manna from heaven. You know what I mean? So it's all kind of, it's a weird one. It's like, you can't be saying COVID was great, but it kind of has from a work perspective and an onboarding perspective. But it could do with leaving now though, because we got to do a lot of road testing. So if you have an inside line.
What about yourself, Devan? Are you happy that you can be on your own up there? You're in Donegal at the minute, are you?
No, I'm in Dublin. I'm based out of Dublin.
Oh, I don't know why I thought you were in Donegal. Sorry.
I'm not. I'm most certainly an extrovert, and I get energy from being around people. And so I think lockdown for me personally and socially has been, really challenging. I miss my friends and my family and colleagues immensely. But the business, I suppose, the big challenge for me and the team last year was organizational planning, because the scale at which we were growing was quite immense. We're about 580% year to date, so we're nearly 6 times larger now than we were this time last year, and that's not off a small base either. And so we've gone from about 15 full-time employees to over 50. And what a lot of people don't know is actually we're half Armenian. So my co-founder is an Armenian gentleman by the name of Ardavaz. And we have an office based out in Yerevan with north of 35 people now, across operations, technical development, and analytics. And I would have traveled there once a quarter for a couple of weeks at a time. I haven't been able to be over there now in nearly over a year and a half. And so I haven't met any of the new team over there. And we've also hired a collection of really talented people here in Dublin and in the UK. And again, I haven't met them either in person. So I think from that perspective, it's really challenging, because I think at the early stage of a business, you're trying to develop a culture, and Barry touched on it perfectly. You want, at the early stage of a business, you want missionaries, not mercenaries. You need people to believe in the journey that you're going on. And most of the time, particularly in the early days, I was asking people to take 50-60% pay cuts to leave Google and Airbnb to come and work with us. And people don't take those pay cuts for the fun of it. They take it because they really believe in what you're trying to achieve. And so I think that's definitely more challenging. I would have spent, like, in the early stages of recruitment, it's 100% the other way around. I was interviewing people to come and work for me, in the sense that I was the one being interviewed. They were in high demand, high skills, like they can choose anywhere to go and work for. I would spend sometimes 2.5 hours selling candidates on why they should come and work for us. And I always approached every interview like me interviewing to get them to come and work for me. That becomes a lot harder when you're trying to scale the organization, and it becomes a lot harder when you don't have that engagement, that physical contact. I took some of our earliest hires to the exact table in the exact pub to have a pint of Guinness where the idea for Buymie started. Like, I would take them to the exact place where the idea came from, to make it real for them, to bring them to that moment of where the ideation came from, and make them feel like they're really joining that journey. You can't do that over Zoom. You can't connect with people the same way. So you have to get very creative in that sense. And again, similar to Sonia and Barry, it was in our DNA. We've been working with our Armenian team for years. So we had all platform infrastructure in place. We were very comfortable using WhatsApp and Slack and Zoom and all the rest to run the business. But I suppose getting in place, the processes, and also just trying to hire at the pace that we need has been challenging. My first port of call was to extend my C team. Brought in our Chief Operations Officer, Jan Harley. He was actually one of our non-executive directors and one of the founding partners for Unilever Ventures. Brought in our first CMO. She's now building our marketing team from scratch, because we've never had to market incredibly hard. We've never had to have that team. It's been quite an organic journey for us. And then a whole suite of senior management. Now we have probably about 6 or 7 senior managers that now give dedicated attention to the varying functions of the business. So it's been a really exciting journey, but org planning and trying to keep that culture momentum has been a real challenge.
Yeah. Sonia, did you have any new hires this year?
This year we did, we hired head of education. So that will be for our website where we will have live chats so we can advise, you know, our B2C customers, and also to educate, to keep that relationship going with our B2B customers. The pharmacies that are all still open, they never closed in lockdown, so that we can provide one-to-one, you know, training over Zoom on our products and keep that connection and that relationship alive.
I know that travel's always been quite a big part of what you do. You must be really missing it this year. How have you managed to deal with that?
I mean, prior to lockdown, myself and my husband, because he's my co-founder, we would be like ships, and I would come home and he would go, and we've got 5 kids. So he would go to China, where a lot of our packaging is sourced from, and I would go and do things like New York, London for new product launches, or we work with a laboratory partner out in Germany. I would go and visit the laboratories. So we were like ships in the night. He would come, I would go. So our kids don't know what's going on.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
Don't those places sound so exotic now when we can't even get out of our 5K? I get a weekly trip down to Ashford for my horse speed every week, and I really think that I'm breaking the borough boundaries. You know?
But I think for us, though, it's the first time that we have been in Ireland for any length of time. We're here a year now without any travel. So we've really gotten to focus on our business and put processes in place to scale it and be present and see how it's working. So it's been absolutely amazing for us. But I mean, we can't wait to get back on the planes and travel again.
I know, need to find our passports, dust them off. Okay, we're going to start wrapping this up now, but I'd like to go around everyone and do the typical, give me 3 things that you've learned from this year, please. Sonia, I think we'll just keep you in conversation here. Let's start with you.
Perseverance. What else have I learned? You put me on the spot. Passion, don't lose your passion. What else have I learned? That's 2.
Good lighting for Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Barry, what's your 3 nuggets?
3, yeah, I'd hate to be Devan though, because he's gonna have to come up with 3 after we've had ours as well.
Yeah, they're not allowed to be the same, Devan.
I suppose one of the things is balance. It was something that I was probably trying to get into my life before this all happened, and so, but this has forced it, and that's been a good thing. I don't miss the travel. I used to do a stupid amount of traveling, and this has really made me realize that I think we've all learned a bit of what's important as well, you know what I mean, and a bit of perspective, which is useful. And the other side of things is, one of the things that I've really taken from this is, you know, you stress so much about things and everything else like that. Everyone puts on their trousers one leg at a time, the same as you do, you know what I mean? And there's nothing better than having a call with, you know, a VP or a CEO in a massive organization, and their kid walks in, or you see the drawing on the wall and the whole lot. And I really think it has leveled the playing field for like startups from that point of view, where you just get, you know, it's humanizing. And actually the early conversations, they're an awful lot better than being in a boardroom with suits on, and everyone preening and trying to show how important they are. And so for me, I've really enjoyed that and embraced it. And kind of, if I see it, I'll mention it. You know what I mean? If you see the drawing, you say, "Who did that? That's brilliant." And it's in a way, we're all on the one level. So that's my 3. They're probably all the same.
I don't know. You sound like you're enjoying this being apart from people so much that maybe if we try this next year, you're just going to be an utter recluse and we can't get a hold of you at all. Devan, what are yours? Come on, wow us.
Jesus, yeah, top I've been put on the spot. I would say, look,
good. This was what I was aiming for. You told me yesterday I wouldn't be able to put you on the spot. I just have. I win. I wish we'd had a wager on this now.
I think, look, take your time and find the right people. That's probably the biggest takeaway that I've had over the last 24 months. And we're not just talking about COVID, but the last 24 months of trying to scale the business is be very mindful of the people that you're bringing in. Hire culture first, and don't rush the process. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it, because the opportunity cost to you in moving on a hire that isn't right is significant, and it slows you down. Take the time to plan. Like this Christmas was the first Christmas I've had in 5 years where I wasn't fundraising. So we closed our round in April. And I was able to take the whole of November and December and I just had a child. I have a 5-month-old son. And so he was born 14th of October. I took some paternity leave, and then in November, December, I was able to just focus on business planning. So I had my C team in place. We just took that time, those 8 weeks, just to plan 2021. And that really set us up for a very strong year. We've hit the ground running. The rubber has really hit the road. And I think that planning opportunity has really given us an opportunity. And you know what, just be authentic in what you're doing. More so than anything else, when you have an opportunity to talk to externals, don't go for the typical scripted soundbite. Give original opinions and talk about the warts and everything that you're challenging. Last year for us there was a massive spotlight on our business and our industry as a whole. And we had every journalist under the sun reaching out for a snappy little soundbite about how great the business was going. And there was a lot of challenges, and there was a lot of things that weren't great about last year for us as a business, and we had to try and deal with that. And you should really share those stories, because that's what the value is. And that's for anyone interested in going on a similar journey, they need to know what's really happening and where the challenges might appear. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but be authentic and get great people and take your time with that.
Okay, I think that's a great note to end this on. Thank you very much to the three of you for joining us, and thanks also to the audience for tuning in. I do hope that you've learned something, or perhaps at least been slightly entertained by us. Please do keep the conversation flowing on social media as well, please. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks very much for joining us. Bye.